According to a BBC Sunderland diary, the genetic modification of humans could be one of the ethical problems that would appear in 2050 due to a scientific experimentation for the DNA called CRISPR. In the beginning, this will be used to fight cancer or other congenital problems. However, in the long run, it could be used to define certain characteristics of our babies, with the objective of creating new generations relatively perfect for society. That makes this fall into an ethical problem because of the human thought about what is perfect. We want to dig deep in the feelings that cause this desire for these changes, as well as promote an idea of self-love and admiration. This exhibition will let the public realize of being aware that experimenting is part of human being, but you always need to keep in mind that human means flaws, human means mistakes and imperfection. Although it's encouraged to identify the aspects in which we, as humans, can grow and the abilities that we can develop, the base for this must always exist in respect and love for your own body.
This painting was chosen since it represents the horrifying process of human experimentation behind human genetic modification. For every medical process there must have been several previous experiments in mammals which would then lead to experiments in humans. All of this before even being offered to the general public. Therefore, this piece shows the hidden and cruel procedure behind it by showing humans fused with rabbits in despair. Paula Rigo makes her art based on fantasy and nightmares. Her art is far away from the world of fashion. Instead, it's representative of the human race of any age. Her art is a combination of pop art and expressionism influences, emphasizing the dark face of society working with controversial social realities like abortion, domination, and authoritarianism. Her particular vision about what is wrong with society helped our work to emphasize the ethical and moral problems that genetic modification in human entails by using her critical perspective on this particular social and political problem.
This photography series, made by Sanele Muholi, shows a practice which confronts stereotypes and taboos around black women. In some of them, we can see how these women use different methods to hide their feelings and insecurities about who they are. This could generate a problem in future because their own insecurities could be reflected in what they want our future generations to be and look like. For example, choosing a baby's sex and even producing overpopulation of that gender. Muholi's perception is important for this work due to her particular fight for the rights of the LGBT community, as well as for feminism and free expression. Her self-proclaimed mission is to rewrite a black, queer, and trans visual history of South Africa for the world, to know of their resistance and existence at the height of the hate crimes there and beyond. She wants people to be free, obeying whatever they want without society's stigmas. Her liberty vision contrasts how genetic human modification could be seen as something beneficial for society by counteracting what people think is our error or ugliness.
Bartholomew Tagua wants to create provocative pieces of art that deal with political dimensions as well. He's interested in flows, more specifically, the merchandise of human beings and those who regulate them. His vision refers to the unstoppable fight for human rights and how these should be respected by criticizing how society don't care about them and how it affects the world we live in. The chaos and emotions that are being provoked daily by society's idea of humanity and perfection are part of his message. What does it mean to be a human being and what kind of rights do people have just by existing? This piece of art was chosen since it embodies an actual representation of the emotions most people have when getting in touch with their bodies and feelings, as well as embracing the relationship between both. It discusses the topic of purification. It makes the spectator reflect on how do people handle the pressure put on them by society and in what ways they deal with it. This piece is meant to make an important statement and make the spectator reflect on him or herself and the rights that he or she possesses.
This video work by Andrea Fraser is based in psychotherapy consultations in which Fraser participated. With this video, she shows us the way in which people want to project their emotion over other individuals, independently if these are positive or negative, creating the basis of a relationship that could be destructive or constructive. This could be reflected over future generations in the way parents want them to look, choosing characteristics that for them are perfect. Fraser's work often criticized politics, commerce, histories, and even the self-assuredness of the modern-day art. Her work is presented in a humorous, ridiculous, and even satirical manner. She used psychology to work with the self-love problems in order to emphasize the importance of psychoanalytic sessions. Her work helps people to confront everything about themselves, to learn about them, and to change what could be wrong. For this reason, her performances are important for criticizing how genetic modifications could be bad and unstable in a few decades from now.
This piece was made by Glenn Leon at the year 2000. It has the phrase, "I am a man," in 2 paper sheets. One of them is empty with the phrase, "I am a man," and the next one is the same phrase, "I'm a man," but with qualities and flaws and characteristics of what being a man is. The ideology behind it is that the artist didn't want to have us using superiority over other ones because of a mold made by society, so he decided to make qualities made by pencil because it changes every time, in order to see that being a man is having flaws and no human is perfect.
This piece was selected because it shows the problematic that people born out of this procedure will confront later in their lives about being born something unnatural. The bandages symbolize the feeling of falling apart and being nothing more than an experimental abomination. This will bring certainly to the ones created like this, sometime in their lives, to a state of madness or depression, since they know they have been created to be perfect. And if they fail to do or be something, their mental health will start deteriorating for this pressure. If they feel they are not perfect, then why do they even exist? Powell Alzheimer combines the visual experiment with suggestive socially minded messages. His aim is to impart a change through art, focusing on the communicative and community-forming power of art. His sculpture emphasizes the organic nature and physicality of the human body, along with his impermanence and temporary nature of man's existence. This vision is looking for finding bodies' imperfections as beauty by exposing sculptures that represent the idea of beauty for different races in the world.
This next piece is made by John Sacker named Mask 13 in 2006. The artist's main intention is to create a whole new image made by older photographs placed one in front of another. In this work, a lady is carrying a postcard on her face, making it look like it was a skull. In that way, we can see that the artist wants to interpret the new identity by hiding the older one with a woman's face. This could be an issue for the woman that might not accept herself, or that she embraces other identities of her that doesn't necessarily comes to her beauty. Or maybe she's just afraid of not finding the right beauty standards accordingly.
Jeff Burton is known for creating creative and evocative pieces of art that often reflect on the human body, more specifically, the pornographic industry and the eroticism that it causes. His work observes and criticizes the subtle connections between the production of pornographic films in large scale and American culture, taking as a main example the United States. He focuses on attending the detritus of the ordinary interiors in which porn films are usually made, often details that suggest a mundane world outside the seemingly transgressive situation of the filming. This piece was chosen since it shows an unmodified human body and the consequences it entails. The man seems to be reflecting, but more than what is on his mind, the importance the piece takes in her context relies on the fact that the relationship between his body and his mind seems to be balanced and positive, However, this is a result of the overly sexual context in which the man has been put into. The spectator will reflect on what will be the future of eroticism, the pornographic industry, and the effect it has had and will have in the image of their bodies. We learned through the intense investigation for the distinct artwork that our exhibition is planned to have we notice that art is very important in today's society. It can nurture and therefore change people's lives for good. Art in this contemporary era has become a great way of finding means of sharing a difficult or challenging idea that is going to change somebody in a very personal way. So it becomes extremely subjective, but it intends to wake the same idea in everyone in their own way. Art is given the use of a tool to open people's minds to something new or even something they have forgotten. It teaches to be thoughtful about what we may or may not ought to do. So what about you? As an individual in a collective society, why do you need to get lost in the boundaries or rules in order to be considered beautiful?